Happy Sunday. Rocking some Aaron Lee Tashin on the intro to another Tone Zone here for you. I'm still loving the show that I saw on, was that Friday night? Man, he is always just the finest guitar player, and it was an inspiring performance. It was so exciting. It's nice to be here again. My name is Brandy Zdan, if I haven't already said so. And we got someone on tonight who is, man, he doesn't need an introduction. He is all of the things, and here he is, Butch Walker. Let's welcome him. We're gonna go. Hey.
Hey, Brandy, what's up?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Just, sitting here at the calm after the storm of a literal storm and a figurative storm this weekend. So, just having some quiet time down in my studio, which is nice. So I'm glad I could do this. I had a busy weekend of showing up at people's shows and wrecking them.
Oh, wrecking them in the best way, of course.
I hope so anyway.
How was the Opry, man? That looked awesome.
Oh, the Opry was awesome. It was really cool. I've never been. I've been to the mall.
Yeah.
I go by my Levi's there. I cut through the Bavarian beer garden and go to the Levi's store, and that's about it. But I had not been to the Opry, which is really a fucking shame, because I know its legacy, and I know how amazing it is. And it was just kismet that it's been on my mind for some time to wow, it'd be really cool if they let a dumb rocker in there and played, so because it's just steeped in so much country history. And I grew up watching Hee Haw with my dad, and Minnie Pearl was a staple there, and all these legendary country artists, and Ernest Tubbs and Roy Acuff and all these others. And it was really cool to be on that stage. There's definitely mojo. I mean, for lack of a better cliche, it's definitely steeped in that, in the floor of that stage. It's real cool. And the house band's wicked. They're they've obviously been doing it a long time. So, it was fun. So my friend Kaylee Shore, I helped her make her EP, and, she was playing. She's a repeat performer at the Opry. And so I think that's how I got in, was she was like, hey, why don't you come, come do a couple of songs with me. And turns out they wanted me to perform too. So they were like, we want you to do your debut. So, which was fun. And so she picked, I let her pick a song of mine that I would do, just because I was like, I have no idea what I would play. I mean, after 20 something years of records, I'm like, I have no idea what to fucking play in front of people that don't know you at all, because it's all, it's a lot of tourists and sure. But man, it was a good choice. It seemed like it kind of rocked the house, and I was super happy about it.
Yeah, that's exciting. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
And also on all of the recent work that's come out that you've been doing. I mean, the list is so long. Kind of wanted to ask you first off, and this is probably a hard question, but what's your favorite thing that comes to mind that you have worked on recently that you've enjoyed the most? Whatever it is.
Well, there's a few things that aren't out yet that I'm excited about, but those records are coming out. We're at the mercy of a 100-year pandemic, and not knowing how that works with touring. So a lot of people have delayed these releases till sooner or later. But I guess one of the records in particular that's out now that's been getting very well received, and I'm glad about, is the new Wallflowers record, which was really a great experience to work on, because Jacob is a longtime buddy of mine. I've known him for probably almost 20 years. And, you know, I met him on his birthday at a show in my hometown, or my home state, and it was in Atlanta. And it was when my old band was like really coming up, and we were really doing well, especially in that area. And so I guess we were kind of hometown heroes or whatever. And we got asked to come in when a band canceled on a radio Christmas show. And we came in there, and we took their place, and it was the Wallflowers were headlining.
Okay.
And we ended up going on before them. And it was our hometown. There was a lot of love there, to say the least. Yeah. And we were also very, very, we were a pretty energetic, animated band, you know? So we just turned it up to 100 and leveled the place.
Yes.
And I just remember, and later Jacob told me, he was like, man, we were all sitting on the side of the stage going, ah, fuck. he jokingly, you know, he was like, oh man, we got to follow that. But I mean, you know, whatever. He also wrote some big guns, you know. He wrote One Headlight and Sixth Avenue Heartache, and just some big jams. So, you know, I think that plays precedent, especially when you're doing a radio show, you know, is who has the hits. But we stayed in touch, and our families became good friends over the years, and you know, we'd vacation together and stuff, but never worked together. Never worked together. We played shows together. Jacob would always play like my charity shows. I'd play his charity shows, and we would like collaborate that way, but never in the studio. And I think he just said it when he was like, he said, you know, I would like to work with you really badly, but I don't think you'd ever want to be my friend again after we finished working on our record. And I said, okay, fair enough. And so that, I'll just keep bugging him every few years. And, you know, I bugged him about making a record at the last time, and he ended up making it with Jay Joyce, which was awesome. And Jay is awesome. Yeah. So I was like, good choice, man. Awesome. And then he finally called me, and it was ironic because I was up in Telluride doing pre-production with my friend Jewel, because I did a record. I just did a record for her that's coming out this year. Nice. And we were up there kind of fleshing out the songs because she lives in Telluride. And Jacob called me when I was up there, and he was like, hey man, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just working, you know. And he was like, oh man, well, okay, listen, I really want you to make a Wallflowers record. I really want you to do it this time. I want us to do this. So I went in the studio, and, you know, we came up with, I think, one of the best records he's ever done. That's what everybody else says, at least. And I said that, but I'm fucking partial to every record I do. I'm like, oh, I love every record that I produce for the most part. But he, you know, he brought in such amazing songs. And it was one of the few records where I believed in his songwriting so much. And it wasn't just because he was a friend, but I believed in his song so much I didn't hear a single song before we went in to record. Not one. Wow. Which is very rare. And I just trusted him, you know. So he would come in with a song every morning, and basically the Wallflowers in the studio, it's a revolving cast of characters always anyway. It's always centered around Jacob. Okay. And so it happened to be my band this time. So it was my band plus Aaron Embry on keys, who's you know, Edward Sharp, Elliott Smith, really amazing, accomplished musician. And then my rhythm section, and then we brought in a guitar player who's played on a lot of Jacob's stuff, as well as he's Jackson Brown's guitar player and was Shelby Lynn's guitar player, Val McCallum, who is a monster guitar player. And it was like Christmas to me. I was like, because usually I'll play guitar as a no-brainer on people's records, right? If they don't have one, if they don't have a band, or bass, or all of it. I mean, I do a lot of where I'll just play all of it, and if that's what they want. And Val coming in was just a Christmas present every day, because he's just so good, and it was so beautiful to record it, you know, just sit back, and literally I just kind of conducted and went back to the old school armchair producer of sitting there and having, just calling shots and stuff. And so
Yeah.
we came up with it. We fleshed it out and, recorded every song. We'd come in and record like maybe a song or two a day.
Yeah.
And did it fairly quickly, but at the same time, we labor over certain things. And,
Yeah.
But I was really proud of how that record came out. And Jacob is a perfectionist in the best way. So it played to his advantage. And I surprisingly love him and don't hate him after working
Yeah, I
with
was
him.
going to ask, are you still friends?
We're still very much friends. Yeah, can't wait to see him. I'll see him in probably another week or two when I'm back out west.
That's great. How often do you get to do the armchair producer kind of situation? Is it few and far between?
It's all really case by case. It's record to record. I mean, sometimes it'll be like a solo artist and they don't have a band, and I'm sort of I'm the band.
Yeah.
And also the arranger and the whatever, and so that's fun for me. I love that challenge, and I love, and plus I get to play in the sandbox and just like cut drums and then cut guitars and bass and stuff. And it's kind of how I grew up making records, because I didn't have money to go into studios, and I had to learn kind of on my own. So I learned how to record all the instruments myself on a lot of records. Not every one of them. I mean, obviously I've done a ton of records where it's me and a band, but having that in my back pocket has definitely helped as a producer, I think, as that role is called. And, as the producer role is like, it's so many different things. It's like, it can be a therapist. It can be just an engineer. It can be an arranger, a composer, performer, or all of it, or none of it, So it's a wide gamut. And I think when I get to sit back and do like a record like Jacob's, where I get to just sit in the chair and listen to the songs, it's refreshing to get to do that. It's kind of fun to get to do that in a way where you just go, oh, I don't even have to play anything. Everything just sounds so good going in. What am I going to do? I'm not going to play these instruments better than these guys. These guys are the best at it, plus we got to bring in Shelby Lynn, who's one of my favorites ever. And that was through Val, who was like, Jacob was like, I wonder if we could get Shelby on this record. And I was like, oh my God, can you do that? I even if I just get to meet her and we don't even cut anything, I just want to meet her. And Val made it happen, and she was super stoked. She came in the studio and just magic, like fucking unicorn dust flies out of her mouth when she sings. It's just incredible. She's just got her whole story comes out in her voice, which is a wild ride, as you may know, if anybody is familiar with her. But she and I hit it off so well. We're gonna make a record together.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that too. So
that's great, man. Okay, so let's get into some guitar stuff. I'm excited to ask you some questions about all of these things. So obviously you have an extensive collection, I would imagine, of guitars you can go to all the time. But let's say, like, for last night, for example, what's your go-to guitar rig and amp? And like what would you have brought last night to just
Last night I brought this.
Okay.
And this is a cool custom shop like Strat that they made for me. And it's got a 69 reverse headstock neck on it, with a spray over Shoreline Gold over Tobacco Sunburst body.
Nice.
And I even went further with it and was like, and they've done their thing to it where they beat it up and it's killer and it's fun. Cause I don't care. I don't care if it's old or new or whatever, as long as it's comfortable and feels good to play. Yeah. I'm not a purist. After I lost every guitar, like 40 something vintage guitars and everything I own in a fire, 13 years ago, I'm not precious about it. I'll never get those legends and those memories back. So it's like, I stopped worrying about that so much. And also I don't want to take those kind of guitars on the road, even if I did have them. I've got a couple of really old 60s and 70s guitars, but they're not leaving here. They're not leaving here because I'm rough on them anyway. And so I like when somebody can, if they'll build me something or whatever that is like that's worn in, like a nice pair of shoes. And, so this one, I put these, I even went a little crazier and put this, like, I kind of set it up sort of like almost like an 80s session LA gunslinger guitar, which like Lukather is one of my heroes, Steve Lukather. who's just, I mean, the list is vast of heroes. You know,
Yeah.
you could name a guitar player and go like, they're my hero.
Yeah.
But like, I really like appreciate what that era was, just because I came up in it. I was
Sure.
I was a teenager during all of that, and that was when I was just soaking it up and shredding and like learning, like just literally sleeping with my guitar every night, you know.
Yeah.
And so I kind of set this one up to like take me back a little bit. And these Vega trims, which are made from this guy in Spain, they're incredible. They're like you know, they're just a floating non-locking tremolo that's a direct replacement for any Strat style tremolo.
Oh, cool.
Put it in myself, which says a lot because I suck at that stuff. And they just, you know, they feel so good. They feel really nice, and they've just got great action, and it's nice. And then I put these. I'm a DiMarzio pickup guy now. I've been working with them now, and again, going down memory lane, where like my first guitars I had, like my first electric guitars that were good were I had these Kramer Pacers because Eddie Van Halen played them. And I had like 4 of them because you could get them for like $400 back then, and they all had Floyd Roses, and I had Seymour Duncans in them, and I'm not Seymour Duncans. I had DiMarzios in them, and so I got these pickups and put them in there and had them put in there. My buddy down at Carter Vintage put them in for me.
Nice.
O'Connor did, and these are and this is going to be interesting, but these are the Steve Vai Utopia pickups. Oh. And they're so pretty, but they're also fucking great sounding. And and I was like, so I've been like just kind of experimenting with different pickups of theirs on which ones I like, and they're all pretty great, but this one just has it's got some great attack, but it's also really warm. It's really got an awesome sound, and kind of woody and hollow, which is what I like, not muddy and whatever. And because I play pretty percussively and heavy handed, and so yeah, that I played last night though. But I'm pretty simple when it comes to doing a jam, which obviously last night was more like I treated it more like a jam. They're like, we have backline, so I played through like some, you know, I played through like a Fender Deluxe, which I love, and I've got several of and played them live for years, with just literally last night it was a Boss Dynadrive pedal I brought with me, which is a very obscure overdrive pedal. First time I used it was I took it to New York to play. I'm gonna drop a lot of names, so watch your feet.
All good, man.
I took that pedal. I took that pedal for the first time up and used it on a Fender Deluxe and my Telly to play. I got asked to play a Joe Walsh tribute for Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
And, like, he was literally sitting 10 feet in front of me with Ringo and their twin wives sitting at the table 5 feet in front of me, and I'm having to sit there and I'm playing Rocky Mountain Way and using my talk box and singing it. And singing, I opened up with Funk 49, and I had that pedal, which, by the way, that was a whole other story, and that was a great story because, like, that was a childhood bucket list dream to be able to. And by the end of the night, he was up playing with me. It was me and Vince Gill and Michael McDonald. So it was fucking awesome. And then he gets up and we sing together, and it was magical. But that pedal I took with me, and it really served well. It was awesome. Yeah. So I hung on to it for like emergency purposes, because I've got my own signature pedal, which it's my pedal board's not here. My pedal board's being redone right now. Mm-hmm. So and I don't know how to do that shit very well. So I've got my buddy over at Dunlop, Joey O, is rebuilding my pedal board, and it's got my own signature pedal by JHS on it, called a Ruby Red pedal, which is what's named after my studio, which is my late father's nickname and my mother's first name. So it's always been the name of my studio, my production studio, for years. Yeah. And so I would bring that, but it's not battery operated. You have to have a power supply. Mm-hmm. And I just don't want it to be difficult. Like if I'm going up there, I take 2 cables and a pedal with a battery already in it. If I'm only doing a song or two, like why do, I don't want to be doing anything where, could you run me some power, just in case they don't have it. So I took that last night, but a lot of times on my pedal board, it's like I have a JHS Ruby Red pedal. That's my main drive, which is 2 drives. It's got a left and a right side. One is a clean boost, and then the other side is an overdrive. And you can change the order of them. If you run them together at the same time, you can change the order of them so one will gain the other. And you can make it do like this crazy, like squishy, like, you know, like voltage regulated fuzz sounding thing.
Nice. Yeah.
Or you can so you can make it sound like a fuzz pedal, or you can just make it sound like an awesome, like a super overdrive or a tube screamer or whatever. It's pretty versatile. And I use that just because I don't like to channel switch. I like an amp with one channel, and I like it to be kind of halfway dirty, so that if I play clean, I just back off my volume, you know. So, and then bring it up, and then and when you dig in, it bites. And so, and then if I need more gain or feedback or for solos, I got my pedal, and I've got 2 stages of gain there to deal with. Sometimes I just leave it on all the time, just on one side. And it's that pedal's very responsive. You can roll your volume down and it still gets clean and stays kind of sparkly, which is important to me. So, so I use that. And then it's got like, I've got like a bunch of MXR pedals I use an MXR stereo chorus. I love that pedal. Nice. I use a MXR, they reissued the Echoplex pedal, and it's basically an Echoplex in a pedal, and it breaks up like the Echoplex, like tape echo. And it sounds really good. And I use that for and I have a tap tempo for it that I use, and I use it for slap. I use it for long delay. And then I have also a carbon copy, which I use for other delays and stuff. And then I've got a reverb pedal of theirs. I've been really into their pedals because it's just, they make good shit, and it's like, it's easy. I'm not real fussy. I don't have like the Christian pedal board with like 7 delays on it and stuff. I just don't, that's not my sound. And I don't try to do the washy thing, you know, not live anyway that much. So it's pretty simple. I've got club foot. I've got like giant 13-inch like caveman feet, and when I wear, you know, when I'm in shoes or boots on stage, and I'm an idiot on stage, so it's like I'm like caring more about singing and talking and entertaining and talking shit to the guy in the back that's talking shit to me, and so if I'm stomping on, I'm hitting like 7 pedals at once when I try to reach for a pedal. So I don't like it to be too much, you know. I don't want it to be too much stuff. So I feel like I can get by with the essentials that are an overdrive, a reverb, a delay, a chorus. I have a compressor pedal that I use sometimes, but I don't do wah-wahs. I'm just not a wah-wah guy. It's not my thing, you know. That's like Dave Navarro's got that, you know. Hendrix and all the guys that want to be Hendrix, you know. It's just like every time I've ever used one, it's just like you just sit there and do this all day long, and all it does is you're just like, I'm not really playing any notes. I'm just hearing the wah. So it's like takes me out of playing, but like I know they're awesome, but I'm not so good at it. So it's like I just don't have it on there. And that's it. And a tuner, I've got a tuner pedal. I use those TC Electronics tuner pedals that are simple and they're great. They seem to work best in loud environments on stages and stuff. So, and then acoustic as well.
Right. It's a hard thing. There's always been stuff I've wanted to add, and you know, you hear about things and you hear something and it sounds great, and just like, what footprint do I want my pedal board to be? I mean, I don't want it to be, I also want to be able to just do the thing if it all just kind of just dies on you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it will. And just from years of that happening and it doing that, I keep it simple so that if I had to like just bypass it all, I can survive, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I always have had that feeling, even now, of like, I just don't want to get too complicated because I want to still be able to make it work if it all goes away. you know.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Just
Yeah.
plug into the amp and turn it up, and it's
Yeah. What amp are you using? What do you like? What do you do?
I usually use a Princeton reverb,
Hmm.
but also I've been using on the last tour I went on, I was using a dual showman with 212 cab, and I really wanted something that was really loud,
That's
but
a loud fucking amp.
it's a really loud amp. But I didn't want, I wanted clean headroom, but with a lot of low end, so my tone was preserved, and I was able to plug in the effects and the overdrive and drive it myself.
Yeah.
Um, that was kind of a big thing for me. I don't know. I think over time I was just feeling I wanted that volume, but I wanted to be able to control it all
Yeah.
with what I was affecting it with. So that was great. I mean, there's a couple times where I've split my signal, run to a bass amp, done like a octave pedal thing. You know, there's all sorts of shit over the years where
Sure.
the tour, you know, I'm sure you knew this in the beginning times of your career, like you just figure out what you need to do to make that tour work. So, okay, I can't bring a bass player, so I'm going to split my signal and like, you know, do a thing and then just or
Yeah.
do like I've been using the dual showman amp when I'm going out on a duo tour with my husband and he's playing drums and it's just like
Yeah.
guitar, drums, boom.
That's
So,
great. Yeah, we used a
yeah,
Princeton on that. I have a 65 Princeton. We used it on like, all of the Wallflowers record. I use it all the time.
yeah.
And
It's
I
a
love
great
that amp. Great,
it's such a great recording amp. Yeah. I
great
mean,
recording amp. It's between that and I use a AC30s.
yeah.
I use a Bad Cat Cub 440, which I love. That's a sick amp, and I
Mhm.
love that amp live and for studio as well. It's a really good amp.
Yeah.
And those have been like my main like kind of just go betweens,
Mhm.
and then I'll go back to the deluxes and stuff as
Sure.
well. So
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah, you don't need a loud amp in the studio. Princeton is fantastic. It's
not at all. Sometimes you don't need an amp at all.
no, you don't. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's whatever works.
It is. Um, well, from the one question I asked you, you like answered the next few questions I had. I love it. It's great.
I do that a lot. I'm
You have
sorry.
maybe done this a couple times in your life. What would be so out of all the guitars you have and over the years and maybe even maybe it was something you lost too, like what is or was your favorite guitar, or is there even one, because sometimes there isn't, but like if
Yeah,
you
no, I have some sentimental favorites because
yeah
there's not many because I lost all of those in the fire.
yeah
But since then, there's been some building blocks. I actually, do you want me to show it to you or just talk about it?
it's up to you, man. If they're right there, go ahead. Sure.
Well, I'm in my studio. It's big, but I can run and be back in 2 seconds.
Sure, do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hold on a second.
The people would love to see.
Okay, hang on. I'll sing to you while I'm gone. Intermission music. All right, coming back. So this guitar is really sentimental and awesome to me.
Mm.
It's pretty, and this is what is called the VOS Gibsons, like they're like the virtual old stock or whatever. I don't even know if that's what it stands for. I'm terrible, but this is it's called a Les Paul G0.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
and they're these were like they're kind of like VOS classics or whatever that were all very nice custom shop guitars back in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And when I got out of, I've told this story before, but it never gets old, and I'll tell it again to you because I don't think you know it. But this is this would be technically the first guitar that I ever owned after the fire. So because I lost every guitar except for the two acoustics I had with me out in New York when I was playing an acoustic show when the fire happened. So no, I came back and didn't own an electric guitar. I lost everything. My first guitar I ever had when I was a kid, all the way up. And
Wow.
it always makes me a little emotional talking about it. But like, because
I can imagine. I mean, it's insane.
Especially
Go through that.
you know, and look, the guitars I lost, I don't get as emotional about it. I get more emotional about the story of this guitar because my friend Alicia, who goes by Pink, who I've worked with her on plenty of her records, we all became really, really close friends, our families and everything. And, you know, over the years, and back then when that happened, you know, we got back into town after that fire and we're just, you know, devastated because there was nowhere to go home to, no nothing. So Alicia was the kind of person that she is, will tell you in a nutshell, the way she is. She was like, you're coming to stay with me at my house. So we went over and, you know, we just had wind knocked out of our sails and, you know, our kid was 6 months old, you know? And so, here we are sitting in her house and we're in the kitchen having wine and talking and just trying to find a smile, trying to find a laugh in anything. And it's really hard to do. And she goes, hey, I got you something. And she goes into the other room and she brings in this guitar case. And I opened it up and it was this guitar. And she said, I don't even know if you know, if this is your thing or if you like Les Pauls, but I walked into this killer guitar shop and said, I want the best Les Paul you got. And
wow.
And she bought it for me. And it still makes me cry when I think about it. It's just like, it's such a special guitar to me because she's such a special person. And this guitar has always been on everything. I've used it on so many records and I baby it, you know, and I put these Mission MCI Mission pickups in them that are pretty incredible. And then I basically just, everything else is completely stock on it.
Okay.
But it sounds so good. It looks great. I cried like a baby when I opened the case because, you know, all of it just kind of came to a head with everything that we lost. But at the same time, I looked at it and the first memory I had of electric guitar and wanting to play the fucking electric guitar was staring at the cover of Kiss Alive 1 by Kiss when I was a little kid. And that ended up being my first concert when I was 8 years old. And it changed, it wrecked me for life. I was like, I'm done. I'm playing music the rest of my fucking life. And that's before Van Halen, before anything for me.
Yeah. And
this was the guitar, this color, Tobacco Sunburst, Les Paul, with cream pickups in it and everything. And I was just like, what is that? I want that. I want to play that. And the fact that I never, out of all the guitars that I lost and all the guitars I owned, I never got one. I never had one.
Yeah.
I never had a Tobacco Sunburst Les Paul Standard, and she didn't know. She knew nothing about that story or anything, and so when I told her that right then and there, we were all just like, oh, you know, it was awesome. So this is a monster, and it's one of my favorite guitars, and I'll never ever part with it, you know, just because it's got the most sentimental value to me. So
that's incredible.
Let me get the tears out of my eyes.
That's wow. Man, what was your first guitar?
My first guitar my uncle gave me, and it was a K, you know, it was an old K solid body, single cutaway, short scale. I don't even remember what it was called. You know, it's probably something like the Voyager or something very mid-century.
Yeah.
It was a single cutaway. It was only like maybe like 18 frets or something. Fat, big old baseball neck with one neck pickup in it.
Yeah.
But it still, to me, like when I got it, I was like, oh wow, it's an electric guitar. You know, like I couldn't be bothered with an acoustic. I was like binging, you know, Kiss records and stuff like that when I was like a little kid. And so he gave me that and a Gibson Skylark amplifier, which in hindsight, I wish I still had, because that thing was badass. And the speaker got gouged so that it broke up and distorted like really at low volume.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was and that's how Link Ray, you know, kind of, that's how distortion kind of got its thing on recordings, was like poking a hole through the speakers. And it was I discovered Van Halen after that, and all bets were off. So I striped everything like sacrilege. I striped the amp, I striped the guitar. I did, it was like Eddie must have pissed off so many parents, because all of a sudden cans of red spray paint everywhere, and just spray painting and taping stripes on everything. And so that was my first one. And then I realized I needed a real guitar when I started wanting to get more serious about it.
Sure.
So I went to, I used to go to this mall in Rome, Georgia, and go into this music store called Ken Stanton Music that was in the mall. And in the window, it was the Wayne's World, oh yes, it will be mine moment, where in the window sat it was a Fender Music Master guitar, definitely not a high end Fender, but now goes for a pretty penny, because
Sure.
this would have been about a 1978. So it was like a 78. It was like a 78 Fender Black Music Master, one neck lipstick pickup, and a PV Backstage Plus amplifier, which to me was like a Marshall at the time. It was the Mississippi Marshall is what PVs were called back then, and it had its own, it had a saturation knob. So I was like, oh, I don't have to blow this. I don't have to cut the speaker up. And
Yes.
it was so that was awesome. So bedroom metal commenced for years, because I saved up my grass cutting money in the neighborhood, and laid it away, and bought it by the end of summer. And you never appreciate something until you do it with your own hard-earned money, especially when you're not even a teenager yet. So I think I was, God, I don't even know, I must have been like 12 or something. But it was pretty memorable, because that was all of a sudden, it was a really easy neck to play, and I was like, oh, there are better guitars, there are better amps,
Right.
and then thus that starts the slippery slope,
Right.
where after that it's like, oh no, now I need a Marshall, now I need this guitar, now now I need a real Strat, now I need a real,
Right.
that kind of thing. So
Very slippery slope.
yes, very. Yeah.
It's true. But it is interesting to then go back and be like, well, can I make one of these, like this fellow gave me this Harmony Stratotone from the 60s or whatever, and I mean, one of my first guitars was a 62 Harmony Rocket, not the greatest guitar ever, but it's like you go back and you think, well, can I now make the stuff work on these kind of
Harmony Rockets? Yeah, Harmony Rockets have vibe. They're great.
They're fantastic. It's just like, when the necks and the intonation and stuff can really be, you can kind of be fighting it, but for some reason this one went all over the world, and it still is, fantastic. But it is a slippery slope. But it's also, I mean, yeah, so many things. I'm going to move on to the next question, because I'm curious about it. Top 3 guitar players might be a really hard question to answer, but there can be more than 3. But let's just try to narrow it down.
Oh my God, that's so hard. It definitely wouldn't be like, the ones not all the ones that I loved as a kid, but some of them still stand out. I mean, I still think Eddie Van Halen is number 1 for me, just because I think he invented a sound of rock and roll.
Right.
He was not only great, but he was an innovator, and it spawned me and millions of other imitators that I imitated the shit out of him before finding whatever. I don't even know if I have my own thing, but
yes.
Well, maybe we break it. We can maybe let's try for three legends from my youth and 3 current.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
Even if I can think off the top of my head, but like it would have to be back in the day. It would have to be probably it would be Eddie Van Halen. It would be Brian May, definitely, just as far as uniqueness and interesting, and Jimi Hendrix, and I'm going to throw Jimmy Page in there as a 4th. Yeah. They're very obvious bullseyes. I mean, I realize those are like I could tell you some of my, but that's hard to do because that was just in rock. I could go to Joe Pass and McLaughlin and Les Paul and all these other guys that just blew my mind in jazz that were incredible.
Yeah.
But I don't even know where to start. And once the well starts getting poured here, I don't know where to stop.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so many, obviously. Jesus. I know I'm gonna leave out so many big ones.
Well, okay.
Somebody said Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I learned Europa note for note because my teacher made me learn it and transcribe it. And that record, I think it was called Abraxas. That was a huge record for me. So that was a big record for me, like the guitar playing on that stuff, because it was a lot of instrumental records,
Yeah.
But let's see, modern guitar players. Lukather. Somebody said Lukather. How can I leave him out? Lukather's one of my favorites. See, this is hard.
It is. I know. It's so hard.
This is hard because there's not 3 favorites to me. There's 300.
And then there's the people that directly influence you in certain periods of your life. All of it. It's just.
Steve Vai for a minute when I was a kid. Like that was a big deal to me. Like, I mean, when I was like a metalhead shredder, all of a sudden this guy came out of left field who was out of Zappa's camp. And Zappa is one of my idols. I fucking love Zappa. And he spawned some of the best musicians. He was like a farm, for musicians that like came in, and all these insane drummers and guitar players. And Vai was no exception. The guy, like, I mean, you look back on it and some of like the David Lee Roth stuff is it's incredible. It's over the top and like can be goofy to watch, but like the playing is like otherworldly. Mike Campbell, somebody said it too.
Yeah.
How can I leave Mike Campbell out? Mike Campbell's like one of the best guitar players on the planet and understated. And that's what got me. See, now I'm getting fired up because it's like there was no, like, everybody was like shredding. And so when I heard Petty for the first time, I was like, wow, they're really cool. And they're cool with being laid back. And the guitar player is so tasteful. And he's great at just being like understated and like choice notes and great vibrato and great sound. And they still look cool and they dress like rock and roll guys. And it's like, it wasn't like they weren't on stage in fucking pajamas, and it's like, it made me so happy. But like there was so many guitar players. God.
I mean, David Gilmour's like that too. Like
Gilmour.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
Yeah.
If you name somebody, I'm going to be like, yeah, them too.
Yeah. Also, the other day, I haven't heard Tom Waits' record in a long time. And I was like, Mark fucking Ribot. I mean, my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a whole other realm of guitar playing. Like the one solo, I think it's on Clap Hands.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's out of the key and it's just so wacky, but it still makes complete sense. And I mean, oof. Yeah.
Well, so and I had a teacher. This was a great story. I had a teacher, an English teacher, when I was in high school. And in high school, I was playing clubs 6 nights a week, but I was also teaching guitar lessons to like 20 students a week right after school.
Dang.
And before I had to go to Atlanta and play. And my English teacher was one of my students.
Nice.
And he was awesome because he would come in and he was enamored with me. Like I'd go and sit in his class and learn English, and then he'd come to me and he'd be like, because I was already like shredding and pretty accomplished and schooled by the time I was 16 years old. And so he would come in, but he knew music I didn't know about. He introduced me to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Danny Gatton, Roy Buchanan. So many of the old blues legends. I didn't know shit about that stuff. I learned to walk before I could crawl because I went straight to Eddie Van Halen after Ace, and so he introduced me to all these guys, like all these badass telly players like Gatton and then of course Stevie, who like I was born in 69 and I think Hendrix died in 70 or 69 or something, but like I didn't catch that really until later, and it's because of Stevie Ray Vaughan that I was influenced by I went back and got into Hendrix because he was such a massive Hendrix disciple, obviously.
Right.
Wore it on his sleeve. But you can't deny the fact that the guy was insane, like an insane guitar player. Sure, he bit the shit out of some Hendrix and the vibe, and even his fashion sense was like head to toe, you know, like this Texas gypsy. And but what a monster. What a monster. I cried like a baby when he died. I remember I was in LA in my apartment in North Hollywood. I was probably like 19 or 20. And I heard it on the radio. But yeah, I'm getting off track. I'm trying to think of now.
Didn't he play like 13s or something, Stevie?
He played, I think he did 12s.
12, okay.
12s or 13s. There's going to be some like guitar nerds on here. They're going to be like, oh, well, actually, it's you know, blah 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 blah. This gauge, and it was custom made by a monk in Tibet. And so yeah, I think yeah, okay, Gary Moore. Somebody said Mark Knopfler. I know. Okay, yeah. Mark Knopfler, Vince. Jesus Christ, yes, Mark Knopfler. I love Mark Knopfler.
Yeah, Prince.
And Gary Moore, huge guitar player for me. He was out of Ireland. And he was the original. He was one of the OG guys in Thin Lizzy, okay. and then he had a band called Tigers of Pang Tang, and that was also a breeding ground for some killer guitar players like John Sykes and I can't remember the other guy, but definitely Gary Moore. And then Gary Moore had a solo career in the '80s, which was, you know, when you heard that stuff, it was like he was doing like metal, you know, But he was singing and he had a cool voice and he was a fucking crazy good guitar player. Funny enough, I see somebody say Peter Green from Fleetwood Mac. Yes. Funny enough, I almost bought Gary Moore's old Les Paul, 59 Les Paul that he bought from Peter Green. It was Peter Green's 59 Les Paul. Now Kirk Hammett owns it. But I just realized I wanted to buy a house instead. And so I didn't buy it because I was like, I'm not going to buy a fucking $250,000 guitar and let it sit in the corner and go, don't even look at it. Because the headstock will break if you look at it, you know. Wow. But yeah, so Gary Moore he ended up making a blues record called Still Got the Blues in the early 90s. And it was on our label that my old hair metal band was on in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I was really, really into him because, you know, when he finally started slowing down and playing memorable, thoughtful solos. Neil Sean's another one. Like, I hate to, I don't want anybody to think that like you can't love the guitar player from Journey, but that guy wrote some of the most tasteful solos on the planet. And when I was a kid growing up on suburban radio rock and all I knew was Journey songs and whatever else was on the radio, that dude he wrote some of the most memorable solos ever. Not to mention, let's go ahead and give credit where credit is due. He came out of Santana's camp. He's on Black Magic Woman. That's half of Journey was Santana's fucking band. That's how they formed. They formed out of Santana's band, and it was Greg Raleigh on keyboards and pre Jonathan Cain and Neil Sean, Ross Valerie, and I think that was it. But still, it like such a cool.
Yeah. That's
cool full circle.
That's what it's all about, is the memorable solo when it comes down to it.
Oh my God, like that solo to this one. I gotta plug it in. This one that like aren't you regretting you had me on here?
No.
What's that one? What's it?
Yes.
Who's crying now? I forgot how the rest of it goes, but man, it was so good. It was so good. I learned that stuff like note for note when I was a kid, and I still want to think of new guys because there's so many new guys that blow my fucking brain out. Like Jason Isbell is like one of my favorite guitar players. That guy, are you kidding me?
I was jamming some Aaron Lee Taston when I started the show tonight, and he honestly is he's ridiculous.
He's ridiculous, and I'm sure you know who Blake Mills is.
Blake would be in my top 3.
I think Blake is probably one of the best guitar players alive today. He's one of the best guitar players on the planet.
He's also making very interesting records.
It makes me more mad that he's one of the best producers and also a fucking great singer-songwriter. And I'm like, you can't have it all, dude. That's not
Yeah.
fair.
You do. You have it all, man.
Oh,
You
well,
do.
no, but and I say that in jest because there's no competition. That guy is like in his own stratosphere. I mean, he's unbelievable, but definitely one of my favorite guitar players, like alive.
Yeah.
Like with the new, let's call it the new stable. Like I think that guy's really incredible. Really incredible.
He's gonna have a long list of things that he's gonna do in the next couple decades that are gonna be incredible. Yeah.
I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. Yeah. He's incredible.
My other favorite, honestly, I mean, and the people that know me really well are like, can you please stop talking about him? Is Daniel Lanois, of course.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean, he also made some of the biggest, coolest records ever.
Yeah. No big deal. He did. But his solo work and some of the instrumental records that he's put out are just really, they're interesting, beautiful, weird, all those wonderful things that you want to do and want to hear.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Okay, so there's not too much time left before Instagram.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I'll talk.
No, don't be sorry at all. This is so much fun. I want to get to a couple more things though. And this one, okay, two more.
Do it.
This is going to be hard. So someone's mentioning the song The Maker. Yes, The Maker is incredible. Best song. Favorite guitar moment. It could be yours. It could be something you saw. It could be something you were involved in. Like or favorite guitar moment on stage. What comes to mind? Like, if anything, I mean, I'm sure there's so many for you, but.
Oh, well, you know, I glazed over saying that Joe Walsh was one of my biggest influences. You know, clear. That's what I mean. Don't ever do that to me and give me a top three. Don't ever do that. It's definitely getting to play for and with him all in the course of 1 hour of just showing up and getting on stage with him, like for him, playing his songs, nervous as hell, singing, playing the solos, singing the songs, which are incredible. His guitar playing is insane. It's so good. Probably doesn't get enough credit for being the powerhouse lead player and writer.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Writer. Like, I mean, I'll be the guy that throws the controversial debate out there that you know, I love the Eagles. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I love them most when Joe Walsh was in the band. And so getting to do that and get up and play with another monster guitar player that's also in the Eagles now, Vince Gill, and play with him. Oh my God, somebody said Prince. I can't believe I didn't even add him in there because Jesus.
There's too many.
There's too many. Yeah. Thank you, people.
Yeah.
Stop, you're torturing me.
That's
people. So one of those cool moments was just having that bucket list of playing those songs, Eagle songs, his songs, and watching him stand up and like clap and cheer like 10 feet in front of me, and then finally get up, and then we share a mic and we're singing and we're playing, we're doing his song, and we get done, and he like puts his guitar down and he comes up and he puts his arms around me and he hugs me really hard, and he looks me in the eye and grabs me and he goes, he's got a really funny voice, you know, he's like, you did real good up there, kid. He's like, he said, I would have been nervous as shit doing that in front of me. And I was like, you have no idea how nervous I was. I was so nervous, sir. Blah, 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 blah. Can we go on a date? You know, but like that was a big moment for me. So it's those little things where like you don't sleep for 24 hours after things like that because you're just riding so high, you know, because you know, your whole life, those are things you never thought would ever happen. And it's why you got into doing this in the first place, was to have those, maybe have one of those moments where you get to meet your idols and they don't suck and they're not assholes and they're actually great people. And maybe they even like what you do. And that's it. You know, he's the one who, like, he actually asked them to get me to come play that thing with Vince. So if I can't feel good about that, I can't feel good about anything. I mean, that's like, you know, they said, what songs did you do with Joe? I did we did Rocky Mountain Way. We did what else did we do? We did Life's Been Good. We did In the City. We did, I mean, pretty much all the Joe songs we did. So
That's fantastic.
yeah. Sorry, I'm
No,
rambling.
no, that's great. Um, that's incredible. I the only time that's ever sort of thing has happened to me, I played a Gordon Lightfoot song in front of Gordon at a tribute,
Oh,
and it
that's
was,
cool.
and I didn't know he was in the audience until I kind of saw him. Like we were told, oh, he may or may not be here. It was in Toronto, and we played like a deep, deep cut, something that isn't even really well known at all. And he, yeah, the nerves though when that sort of stuff happens, when you have the person in front of you, the song you're singing, it's incredible.
Oh,
Okay,
amazing.
so one more tonight, and I think Instagram cuts you off at an hour, so I don't want you to be cut off on this one, but I'm curious of, with all of the stuff you've done and the career you've had, like what is left for you on your sort of dream list? Like what are you excited about doing, or something that you haven't done that you want to do? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I've gotten to do a lot. I'm really,
yeah,
really,
yeah, no,
when I think about it, I've gotten
crazy.
in 51 years, I've gotten to do a lot. I think a lot more than a lot of 51-year-olds. And
Absolutely.
that's not a brag necessarily as much as it is an observation. I'm just very, I'm thrilled with what all I've gotten to do. So, you know, the fact that it's hard to think of something is maybe pretty cool,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I have gotten to do a lot of really interesting, fun things. And like last night, getting to play the Opry and getting to play, you know, I mean, I've always been kind of a bystander, Forrest Gump, like where I got to play Carnegie Hall, but it was opening for Ryan Adams. I got to play the Ryman, but it was doing a charity show with a million other people. I've never gotten to headline these places, and you know, we always want to set our bar so high and sometimes unrealistically, like, oh, I'd love to be able to play and headline and sell out the Ryman, or sell out, you know,
Sure.
Carnegie Hall, or sell out, you know, or play, you know, those are things that are obvious bucket list things. But the fact that I've even gotten to play those places at all feels pretty cool, and
Yeah.
soak up the magic in those rooms. And last night doing the Opry was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So
That Ryman charity show was the first time I saw you play. Greg Gianukos has that photo, the fantastic photo of you bent over with
he
the,
sent it to me. It's in the lounge.
yeah, that is, I remember seeing the show and seeing what you were doing. I was like, what the fuck just happened? It's incredible. But
Well, thanks.
I
I
think
have fun.
I think those are really, yeah, I mean, those things are going to happen. I do
Yeah.
think so. But that's I'm imagine that there's plenty more records for you as well coming, you know.
I definitely will. I'll definitely
Yeah.
make more records. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I've got things already. I'm making them right now. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
wheels are turning. Got to do it while I can, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this tonight. This has been really fun.
It's great. It's so good to see you. And hope the family's good.
The family is good.
Great.
Lucky is on she loves Harry Nielsen right now.
Yes.
Me and my arrow, that's all she wants all the time.
That's so cool.
I hope your family is well as well. And thank you so much, man. This has been
Thank
so
you.
good. And we'll see you around town.
We did it with 2 minutes to spare.
Yes. All right. Take care, man.
See
Bye-bye.
ya. Bye.